Hey folks, how's it going? Chris here from MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. Welcome to the channel. It's time for another G.I. Joe Classified Series update, although this is also a collector thought of the day rolled into a G.I. Joe Classified Series collector update, which is why I'm freestyling. I'm doing phone and portable mic today. I've actually got the camera set up for something else. Shall I give you a sneak peek at the other thing? That's what's coming next, folks. That's what's coming next. And well, here we are, a G.I. Joe Classified Series news update, so close to the last one. And the big news of the weekend was that Tony, the great Antonio himself, is also leaving the G.I. Joe Classified Series team. And to put the cat further among the pigeons, he's going over to Boss Fight Studio, the same place that has just scooped up Lenny, and the same place that scooped up Corey. Who's Tony, you might ask? Well, if you're not already aware, although I suspect many of you watching this are, Tony was a member of the G.I. Joe Classified Series design team alongside Lenny. If you've been around, any of the Hasbro Pulse live streams or any of the convention live streams that they do, it more often than not was Lenny and Tony alongside either Emily or BMAC. Emily and BMAC being the marketing folks. And we'd already heard just a couple of weeks back, maybe about 3 weeks back, that Lenny was moving on. But this weekend, word came out through through social media as a result of some leaving party photos that got posted that Tony's also moving on, which of course has brought out all the commentary, all the usual commentary. Is the heart and the soul of the G.I. Joe Classified Series line dead? Is that it? Is it game over now without Lenny and without Tony? Are we in trouble? Is our beloved line in deep, deep trouble? And, it might be, it might not be. I said in my video when I was talking about Lenny's leaving that, I've seen times when someone's left a team, they've been replaced, and it's just, it's gone pear-shaped, and the new team dynamic, and, they don't come out the other side of that storming phase, and things go all a bit awry. But I've also seen times in my professional life where someone's left, they brought on some fresh blood, and the new injection of energy, the new perspective, the new vision has worked wonders, and they've got, they've formed and stormed and normed their way through to something even greater, or at least different in a good way. And it could go either way at this point. Who knows? Who knows? Certainly not I, certainly not you, and certainly not anyone else who's live streaming and dooming and glooming it up or speculating as to what the future of the G.I. Joe Classified Series line will be. It would be fair to say, with Tony, similar to my comments on Lenny, that there was certainly something about Tony in terms of his approach and his outlook and the way he kind of came across on the live streams and that kind of public persona of Tony that we saw that made me feel like I saw something of myself in him, just the same way as I saw something of myself in Lenny. Which obviously spoke to me as a fan of the line and as someone who enjoyed that kind of connection to the people who were responsible for, the stewardship of this brand that I'm very passionate about. And so whoever replaces Lenny, whoever replaces Tony now also would need to bring an equivalent level of passion, or at least some vision to the way that G.I. Joe Classified Series should continue. Bearing in mind, of course, that BMAC in his social media post talking about this subject said, we're a year and a half, or whatever it was, 18 months ahead of ourselves, so we won't feel the impact of this or discern any meaning in terms of the future transformation of the line for at least a year and a half. I'll tell you one thing, Boss Fight Studios has gone from being a kind of a manufacturer that I take a very passing interest in, knowing that there's been some kind of weird scumbag management shenanigans going on, which my man Matt commented about actually on my Lenny video, or QC issues or weird face things going on with the Red Sonja or what have you, and then weird Red Sonja controversies with, was it Four Horsemen? You hear about them in that respect, but only really ever took a passing interest in them because here in the UK, there's very limited supplies of their lines come into the United Kingdom, and they're expensive figures. For me, it's a £60 figure, which in your North American funny money over in the States is like $80. It's an $80 figure, and I've just never considered what they produce to be worthy of, an $80 purchase. But now, like I say, they've gone from being a manufacturer that I have a passing interest in, and what I do know of them's all that great, to a manufacturer that I'm going to be paying an awful lot of attention to, because with Lenny there and with Tony there, and also Corey Cantaloupe, which some of you guys will know was also on the G.I. Joe Classified Series team in the early days, what are they going to be working on? What are they going to be making? What are they going to be doing? It's definitely, I'm going to be watching with significant interest. So G.I. Joe Classified is one thing. What's it going to look like? How's it going to transform? What's the impact of these changes going to be on our beloved line? But then equally, what's going to be going on this other side? You know, Boss Fight Studios are making moves, bruh. They're making moves. I'll tell you one thing that did cross my mind, just, while I'm in the thought of the day space, was around that area in the US. Surely there's a very, very limited pool of individuals with the particular skills to do this stuff. I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong, or someone with more knowledge in this area, let me know in the comments down below. But their recruitment pool for replacing these individuals in and around Boston, I suppose they'll be looking now with the move happening. They're not going to be overwhelmed with applicants of the standard of Lenny and Tony, are they? I don't know. Is there a wealth of out of work, action figure designers, sculptors, etc., floating in and around all up and down the East Coast, or certainly within commutable distance of Boston? I just can't see that being the case. Is it the case? I mean, certainly, again, I'm sorry, I forgot who it was who said it, but in one of the other comments, someone said, they do contract out a lot of their sculpting, and that's true, like the Arlen Pelletiers of the world and stuff. But even then, you hear the same names over and over. It feels to me like it's a very limited pool of individuals, which speaks to Hasbro, in some respects. Again, just to put my, real life Chris, my IRL professional lens on it. They're not doing a great deal to retain talent. In fact, they seem to be doing an awful lot to push talent away, if you ask me, which is obviously the Chris Cox thing. We all know he's desperate to get out of toys and go into video games. Although that said, things aren't going very well on the digital side of Hasbro, are they? I don't know if you folks have seen what's going on with the Wizards of the Coast, the Magic the Gathering arena, the digital wing of Magic the Gathering forming a union and writing open letters and kicking off about things like working conditions and the sword of Damocles swinging over their head that they could just be laid off at any minute, and asking them to grind to the point where they're sleeping under their desks at the office and all that kind of stuff. And that Hasbro have been going after work that they've been doing in their free time. Have you guys seen that? Let me know, and maybe I'll do another video on it, but there's been a lot of coverage. This is MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. I know I don't do an awful lot of tabletop gaming content nowadays, but it's, I still keep half an eye on what's going on. And, there's stuff going on with the Wizards of the Coast that I was reading about that could be very indicative of the kind of treatment that the staff have been receiving, including a kind of return to the office, end of work from home policy, which with the move to Boston, I think is what's driving things like Lenny and Tony to pack it in and resign voluntarily, because they're saying, well, what was it Lenny said in his post? I've got to do what's right for me and my family. And I'm interpreting that to mean, no more grinding with late hours, probably better in terms of expectations of like travel and late shifts and stuff, and a working environment, or a working for a business that's much closer, commutable distance to where they live, so there's no relocation and all that bollocks in the mix. But it did give me pause. It did give me pause in the first instance, like, what's the recruitment pool like for this? Where are you going to get your replacements? Are you just going to be shuffling things around? Are we going to get what's his name off Marvel Legends rolling over into G.I. Joe Classified or something? But equally, what the fuck is going on at Hasbro? Do you know what I mean? No effort to retain quality talent that has grown what is presumably a pretty successful line, G.I. Joe Classified, I would think. Like, this isn't a human resource that I think is just eminently replaceable, is it? Not like, you can go out to market and find yourself a new accountant tomorrow, you know what I mean? But sculptors, designers, experts in this field with the experience, the institutional knowledge as well. These are guys who've been at Hasbro for a long time. We're just letting them walk out the door. which I suppose is a whole other ball game, really, and a different thought of the day. But yeah, if anyone knows better than me, I mean, is there a lot of people out there who are talented sculptors who are just desperate for work and could backfill that position? I just don't think it would be the case, would it? In any case, Tony seemed like a lovely chap. I never met him personally. He wasn't at London Comic Con last year when I met Lenny, but my observations of him at, the events and the streams and the other interviews and coverage from other YouTubers that I dip in and out of, he seemed like a great chap. And certainly, I enjoyed, I enjoy his work. I've got a box full of G.I. Joe Classified right next to me here because I've been digging my dreadnoughts out to do some stuff with my new figure that's arrived. And so I wish him the best of luck at Boss Fight Studio. I was certainly interested to see what was going to happen over there with Lenny and Corey, but now with Tony in the mix, definitely going to be keeping a very close eye. I think I saw that Lenny's going to be at Joe Fest, so I know some of you guys, some of my Joe Bros in particular who watch this channel from the Frontline Discord, which you all should join, by the way. I'll put a link in the description down below. Great place for chat and conversation, not just about G.I. Joe Classified, but all sorts of great nerdy topics. I know some of you are going, and some of the UK crowd are heading over as well. So someone pin them down, get over to that boss fight table, take some pictures, let me know what's going on. I'm desperate to know what's happening there. Will it be a military line? I don't know. I said on the Lenny video that I know that Lenny and Corey have both been on the record about wanting to do some kind of more gnarly, crazy designs and stuff, like aliens and monsters and what have you. So maybe they're going to be doing some, epic hacks? Vitruvian hacks? Whatever their sword and sorcery thing is. But I'd be interested to see if there's a military style line. Or certainly a science fiction military cartoon type line getting churned out by Boss Fight. I saw a lengthy conversation in the Discord actually while I was lurking about is G.I. Joe Classified going to get farmed out to Boss Fight? As that commenter I mentioned before rightly observed, Lenny could possibly be retained by Hasbro to contribute, and Tony. On the grounds that they're known to contract out sculpting work and design work. Who knows? Anyway, I'm sitting much more prepared to reserve judgment on where G.I. Joe Classified series goes. But yeah, Boss Fight Studio, funny one. Real funny one. Kind of little boutique-y action figure manufacturer that I've not paid any attention to really particularly. I've heard things about them, and like I say, the things I've heard about them not so good, controversies and what have you, and overpriced for us here in the United Kingdom with not a great supply line into this side of the ocean, to a manufacturer. I'm like, I'm going to be hitting that follow button on Instagram now, see what they get up to. And you know what, folks? I recorded a G.I. Joe Classified Series news update just the other day, and then this happened the following day. So watch this space or keep your eye out on the socials, because that inevitably means that something big's going to happen tomorrow. Because it's just my luck. As I say, MoDXtra Games and Collectibles, a place where you get some of the G.I. Joe Classified Series news some of the time when I get around to it. So what am I saying here in conclusion? Well, Tony's leaving the G.I. Joe Classified Series team. He's no longer at Hasbro. That's the top and bottom of that. Looks like they had a great smashing leaving party at some sort of tiki bar or something. They were drinking cocktails. Fair play to them too. But also, I think it's just another damning indictment of Hasbro, isn't it, in terms of their corporate behaviour. As much as I love the G.I. Joe Classified Series action figure line, they are just a paragon example of corporate wankership. You know what I mean? Just like the wankiest of the wankers when it comes to the kind of C-suite leadership and management of their organization, because just who in their right mind lets great talent walk away like that? I mean, great talent from my perspective, I suppose. Maybe Lenny and Tony were what we call the brilliant jerks, for all I know, but with the continued and repeated news of layoffs like every Christmas the last couple of years, I'm not inclined to think that's the case. And Boss Fight, they're going to have to move quick, I think, really. They're going to have to move quick and get some word out or give some indication as to what the direction of travel is over there. Have they secured an IP license? Are they creating a line of their own? And what are they going to be getting these guys working on? Because they need to, well, maybe they don't need to move fast, actually. Just the fact that those guys are involved in it would perhaps be sufficient. But nonetheless, there you go. Some rambling thoughts once again, with a little bit of G.I. Joe Classified Series news in the mix too. As always, I'll invite you to head to the comments down below. What are your thoughts on Tony leaving? What are your thoughts about Hasbro's weird way of dealing. If anyone does know a bit more about the industry, and let me know, our sculptors and designers, 10 a penny over there on the East Coast, Has Harvard got a course? Are they just churning them out? But as always, love to hear your thoughts, folks. I'm a little bit behind on comments, but I will get caught up. But in the meantime, all that remains to say is thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, hit all the buttons and stuff that help a brother out, the YouTube buttons. And I'd love to see you again. So swing back around for another video sometime soon. Okay? Take it easy now.